I want to tell you guys a story about the most challenging creative endeavor of my entire life.
Good evening, everybody.
Now, that excessively shaky, very, very nervous student filmmaker you're seeing right there is me. And the reason I was so nervous that night is because I was about to premiere my passion project over the last couple months to a theater full of more than 100 people. But more on that later. Let's take this back really quick to July 31st. Our first day of filming happened right here in my grandmother's attic. At this point, this short film idea had kind of been like vaguely floating around in my head for about 2 years, but in actuality, we'd only been writing it for about a month or two. A few weeks prior, I was shooting an interview with my friend Reese Mosley, and we kind of made this deal with this movie where we would co-write it, I would direct it, we would both be in it, and he would compose the original score for it. This led to One Night in Squatchtown, a story about a teenage camping trip that doesn't exactly go as planned when one of them dresses up as Bigfoot to try and scare everybody else.
Squatchtown is about Bigfoot, who's real, and these campers going out there, but then my dumbass character decides to dress up and try and scare them, and then he gets whacked.
And ends up getting a concussion because the other friend hits him with a frying pan. It's a long story, but it makes sense if you watch it. We wanted to start shooting this thing sometime over the last couple weeks before the end of my summer break, which meant that we had to finish this script while I was overseas in Italy. So I was writing all the time. I was writing on trains, I was writing in hotels, and really just every little bit of free time I could get on that trip, I would sit down and I would write. I'm working on the script. I was supposed to be in Venice right now. As much as having a flight canceled sucks, it does give you a little bit of extra time to work on your screenplay. Long story short, the script gets done, and before long, me, Zoe, and AJ, two of the actresses in the movie, were here in my grandmother's attic shooting the first scenes for the movie. So for the first day of filming, the cast and crew consisted of 3 people, and also the crew was the cast, and the cast was the crew. It was me directing and playing the character Tommy, Zoe, my girlfriend, who was acting as Mia and also assistant directing, and our friend AJ, who was acting as Iris.
We started constructing the tents for the first time, which took like 30 to 45 minutes for each tent.
We did it!
It took us a good hour to get the big tent, like the green tent, up.
Now that first day of shooting was fun, it was a great time, but we were barely getting started and we had not even kind of hit the hard part yet. Luckily for me though, for the second day of filming, we had an assistant director on set. So Reese's character gets hit with a frying pan, and we're doing the scene right after that happens, so he needs some fresh wounds. So welcome back to Pictures Up. Today we will be beating the shit out of Reese Mosley for fun.
Yeah.
Here, I'll hold it steady.
Okay.
Eye closed?
Yeah, I'd close it.
Listen, okay, I had a dream where I went camping with Sam Morgan and one of my coworkers, and Sam Morgan comes up to me and says, "You didn't bring a fancy dress to go to Olive Garden?" I said, "No," and he said, "You don't know about camping then."
That wasn't a dream, that happened. I think we're getting close, but let's give it a couple more seconds for safety. You know?
Yeah.
Directors, us on our safety. Yeah.
Let's take a shot every time Sam Morgan says safety today.
He got murdered!
We also had the entire principal cast of characters present on set, which made it just so much more enjoyable, just having everyone there, bringing those characters that we wrote to life. And I was just immediately impressed by how well the chemistry between all of these performers developed.
They were all very nice, very welcoming, because we were really close, and Reese got along with everyone very, very well.
Michael and Reese, for example, play best friends in this film so convincingly that I forget they had never met before the first night of filming. So we shot a quick scene. It's the waking up from the concussion scene, and then we took a picture which would later become the base image for the film's poster. Reese and Michael were done for the day, so they went home, but me, Elizabeth, AJ, and Zoe all stayed at my grandmother's house just for a few more minutes, and we shot a quick scene for the epilogue of the film. The only problem was when we got around to filming this scene, it was nighttime outside by this point in the day. So in order to create the effect of the sunshine coming in through the blinds, we just put a light right here, and we turned it up really, really bright and shined it right through those blinds. Now, it was time for possibly the longest weekend of my entire life. In early August, we spent most of 2 straight days out here in Zoe's parents' backyard shooting a large portion of this movie. Much unlike right now, it was very, very hot then.
It was fine in the morning because we had donuts and we had refreshments and everything was great. The middle of the day was scalding.
It went blazing. It was like hell on earth, bro.
It was so freaking hot. Like we had to have like a fan outside.
Yes, the big weekend, we started outside, which was so smart on the director's part. And I'm just kidding.
We were all just sweating our asses off, and are we allowed to cuss in this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got an early start Saturday morning. We shot the tent setup scene in which I had the actors actually try and set up the tents and just like do their best. We had portions of the campfire scene that we shot, and we had my personal favorite, the shit scene. When I talk to people about this movie, I would say one of the most frequently asked questions is, where did you get those 2 weird guys? And if you've seen the movie, I'm sure that you know who I'm talking about. You guys, do you believe in Bigfoot?
I do. I think the forest is largely unexplored.
Where?
Appalachian mountains. What? I'm serious. I genuinely think there could be a Bigfoot in the Appalachian Mountains. Appalachia.
These are the 2 weird guys in question. Wake is Zoe's older brother, John is his best friend, and at some point they had expressed interest in being in one of my movies. And so I wrote them the 2 most out-of-pocket characters I could even imagine. John and Wake's scene was the first thing out of the entire script that I wrote. I actually wrote it before Reese was involved at all. Basically, it involves our 5 principal characters meeting these 2 Bigfoot enthusiasts, and one of them tells this really long, convoluted story about the time he saw Bigfoot, and more memorably, when he saw what Bigfoot left behind.
Tracks. No, the ground's too hard for tracks.
Then what?
I seen this kid.
Now, one of the best lines and the most memorable lines in this scene was not actually written by Reese and me.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah, how'd you come up with it?
I think the biggest one was it tasted different line. I think I came up with that.
The shape was different. The smell was different. The taste was different.
Dude, that was probably just some camper.
I don't know why I came up. It just
Did
popped
it, John? Did it taste different?
It just popped into my head, and that was apparently a highlight of the film, is what I've been told. But I just came up with it, you know. So. Yeah.
So this scene was actually originally intended not to have any flashbacks at all. It was just gonna kind of be this funny monologue that this guy says. But when I went to edit it, there were some audio issues with John's close-ups. It was because of that audio issue that I decided to record new audio for his monologue and to incorporate flashback scenes. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Filmmaking is just solving problems. And this is an example of a time where having a problem and solving it actually led to a better solution than our original idea for that scene. Hey John, this is your weapon.
Oh, sweet.
There you go. Now, while we were shooting these scenes, I did have the idea to have a little bit of shit in the corner of John's mouth that he would just, wipe off. But it was Zoe's idea for him to try to wipe off the little bit of shit and just completely smear it into a sort of shit stash across his face. Okay, look, even for me, right, the guy whose idea it was in the first place to write an entire scene about shit, this was pretty gross. Nevertheless, it's also hysterically funny, and I really, really wanted it to be in the final cut of the film, but we did do alternate takes of the exact same shots without the shit stash, just in case we somehow deemed it too much or we needed an alternate cut of the movie, something like that. We're out here, we're about to film a campfire scene. We have made some s'mores for John and Wake. Zoe's dad is playing Bigfoot for the evening. I was going to step into the suit, but then we don't really have a camera operator. Zoe's dad very graciously offered to be Bigfoot. I have the weirdest method of bonding with my girlfriend's family. The open part's the back.
The open part is the back. Okay, that makes sense.
It's gonna smell bad and you're gonna sweat a lot.
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, that's okay. I already smell bad.
You think we should put the dogs on?
Yeah.
How many people can say they've done this?
Not many.
Okay, so now that we've talked plenty about shit, it's time that we talk about from the start. Reese and I kind of had this idea that we wanted to make what would be considered a PG 13 movie. Now, of course, One Night in Squatchtown has not been and will not be submitted to the MPAA for ratings consideration. But when we were telling people about the content, you know, what's in the film, we wanted to give them like a good ballpark estimate of whether or not their kids could watch it. So we did our best to abide by the general PG-13 guidelines, one of which, and you probably see where I'm going, is that you are allowed one singular F-bomb. So the question arises, but when? Because so much of this movie is improvised by the actors, we had the opportunity to really give ourselves many choices with this one. We shot several scenes where he said it, and then we shot alternate versions of those scenes where he didn't say it.
There are a few scenes that have me saying it, but are just not in the film, and one of them is the tent falling over. One of them was in my rage scene.
Yeah, it is, it's your f***ing car!
But it really wasn't much of a contest after Sunday afternoon in Zoe's garage.
Did you f***ing hit me with a frying pan?
No.
The cast and crew were in hysterics. We loved the line. We shot many more takes of it. That's our one F-bomb. That's where we spent it. That was a pretty fucking good usage. By this point in the weekend, if I'm being honest with you, we were all completely exhausted. We had blocked off all of these windows with trash bags to get complete darkness in here, and then we had set up my car with a blue screen to start shooting the car scenes.
For the effect that the shadows were rolling, we used an umbrella. It was just having this umbrella and you would just twist it over and over again to make those shadows, and you would be like back and forth and twisting it.
So we filmed in the car, and the car was like chill, because me and Reese were like making up some lines to be pissed at each other. It was really funny.
I love Michael. He is so fun to improvise with. The garage improvisations were pretty fun, and the ones where we did it like outside, like screaming at each other.
So much of this film was either improvised, different from how it was written, or came up with on set, something like that, in a way that really just makes it feel fresh. It's one of my favorite things about this movie. So then we went to the clinic where my mom works, and we filmed all of the urgent care stuff.
Everyone was just really tired by that point, but we powered through.
Despite all of the on-set drowsiness between takes, Michael, Reese, John, and Wake pulled off incredible performances, and these are some of my favorite scenes in the entire movie.
I really did like the doctor's office scene where we just pop out of nowhere.
The urgent care scene, and as well as the car scene afterward, were definitely my two favorite ones to act, just because there's a lot of dialogue and it just feels natural. Like there's a clear beginning, middle, and end to each of those scenes.
That is a wrap on the longest weekend of my life. I got 3 hours of sleep last night. Not because we were up late filming, we were just up late, like, talking with the whole cast. I personally was in extremely high spirits. Everything had gone pretty much how I wanted it to, with the exception of getting rained out, not shooting as many scenes as we wanted. But everything we did shoot, I was extremely satisfied with. This film was coming together in a way that I think felt very right, and as a result, I felt fantastic after that weekend. And being able to actually spend this time with them, with the cast and crew, has really just been an experience that's kind of unlike any other I've had making movies. Making a movie happen is no small task. I don't know, I'm very impressed with all of us. I think all of us should be impressed with ourselves. I'm very grateful for these people for helping bring to life this script that Reese and I wrote, and I so look forward to seeing what we make. Let's do an intro for the video.
I am Kermit the Frog. I'd like to make a PSA. Are you gonna do the fucking intro, or am I just gonna say?
We're filming the first scene of the movie, guys. Not the first scene that we've filmed. We've filmed many a scene, but this is the first scene that appears in the movie, and we're filming it right now. I don't know where Michael went, but we're filming it. Michael. Transformers. Michael and Reese came over to Zoe's house, and we shot the beginning of the movie, and then we shot the end of the movie, back to back.
And that's when I came up with the Squatchtown, baby, and I smacked his booty.
I really enjoy when Reese's character hears that there's other people going on the trip. Just his face of despair is so great.
I actually, that is my favorite scene as well, because it reminds me of a lot of the times when Wake would ask me to hang out, and then he would inform me that other people were coming that I didn't want to hang out with. Yeah. So that reminded me a lot of my relationship with my co-star and colleague.
That's better.
No. Fucking hated all that. I don't know what it was. We're about to film the last scene of the movie. We just filmed the first scene of the movie.
What did you do with Katniss? Can I get a Katniss cameo real quick? What did you do, girl? Hi. Oh, she's so pretty.
Zoe's dad told us that this spot about 7 minutes up the road is gonna be good for filming this final camping scene. I'm just taking his word for it. If not, we don't really have a location to film this scene. The location didn't work out. The reservoir was kind of crowded. There were people fishing there. We're gonna go like deeper into Zoe's backyard and we're gonna see if there's an area far enough back there that looks like a whole different campsite, perhaps.
My two fears are I don't want to be deaf and I don't want to get Alzheimer's. But it was like really heartfelt, and then it's like the classic famous line, you know what I think? I think the real Bigfoot is the friends we made along the way. In the movie, I'm like laughing like, haha, I hate you, but that was a real laugh because that shit's funny. It fit because we were being genuine, we were laughing, like actually laughing and being like, you know what? Bros forever, man. And so I think that honestly added like more of an impact. For the end of the movie, I actually had to step into the Bigfoot costume to play the Squatch himself. Now, I'll never be as good as Shannon, Zoe's dad. No one will ever top his performance as Bigfoot, but I think I did decent. Bros forever.
Don't record this.
Reese tied it.
No. I did a good knot and somebody wearing the fucking costume.
Reese tied a horrible knot, and now I'm stuck in the Bigfoot suit forever. I'll never take it off you. I'm gonna die wearing the Bigfoot suit.
Yeah, now you have to direct like that.
Michael, help. That day we had one more scene to do, and it took place out here in Zoe's driveway for the beginning of the film. But it needed to take place at morning, and we figured that evening light was fairly easily substitutable for like early morning light conditions, right? Well, that's probably true, but the problem was we didn't have any light. We had almost completely run out. So we were left with no choice because of Reese's low availability but to just take our lights and once again turn them up really bright and pretend it's the sun and hope nobody notices. Now, I've described some things so far that were pretty hard, but I think the hardest thing we had to deal with throughout this entire movie was the rain machine. A little while before I left for that Italy trip, I asked my grandfather if he thought he could build us a machine that would create realistic movie rain, and I showed him some tutorials on YouTube of people doing the exact same thing, and he actually said, you know what, no, I could do that, but better. I can improve upon what they're doing. So let's talk to him about the rain machine.
Anyway. Oh, okay. You're filming now. Well, pretty simple concept. We needed some way of spanning 10 to 12 feet with possibly some tripods and a top rail. So the problem was coming up with a sturdy enough tripod. Used a lot of geometry. Found some pickets that came off a deck railing. That made the legs, and then I put some safety chains on it. Put the top runner on there so that it would support the sprinkler hose. I've just been kind of a MacGyver, and you got a requirement. We just try to figure out how to make it work.
So I have like a love-hate relationship with that rain machine. I kind of have beef with it a little bit because I really think that it was like a really creative idea, but I was the recipient of the water.
Don't get me wrong, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the rain machine itself. The problem we encountered was just getting that much water that far. Zoe's dad generously ran like 400 to 500 feet of hoses to like all the way over here from all the way over there. But the first time we turned it on, nothing at all.
We have a rain machine, and it wasn't working.
Sam and Zoe's dad tried like 15 times to get that thing to work, and it wouldn't work.
Michael says the hose is on. I'm not seeing any water yet. More on this in a moment. And we grow increasingly frustrated because we can't find any issues. Yeah.
Yeah, hair flat.
This here is a pretty fine rain machine. After much messing around with hose. After much reconfiguring of water hoses, finally about to get the rain machine to work, I think. Okay. But eventually I found it. There was a hose that was broken just straight through the middle and it was spewing water out of both sides. And so I'm like, okay, well that one just can't be part of the line anymore. I took it out. I had to connect the two hoses next in line. But here's the problem. For some reason, they must not have been compatible or something. It's been a minute since this happened, but all I remember is that the two ends of these hoses would not stay together of their own accord.
We were like, you know what, we can just hold them together and it'll work.
Michael had to like stay up like on the other side of the house while we were down here and hold the hose like so tightly so that the water pressure could just go through it.
There was so much pressure coming from the hose that the water was coming from. I was holding it and I could feel the pressure building up inside of it. And then it probably happened like 2 or 3 times. It exploded on me. I got wet for this film.
Rain! Okay, all right, it's raining hard. Action.
I was like, man, this is a good sacrifice because then we don't have to mess with the rain machine anymore. And then we put it on the computer.
I had kind of only lit like one part of the frame, so it sort of looked like the rain only existed over one of the tents, and it really did not make any visual sense, so we had to reshoot it. After all that, we reshot the rain thing. We were just outside. Our plan was to do the campfire scene and then the frying pan scene. We wrapped the campfire scene. It's about 2:20 a.m. We're already considering packing it up and just trying it a different night, and then it just starts pouring rain. And so we had to shove all the gear into a tent, seal it tight, and come inside. I'm having a great time amidst all the chaos. Are you, Michael?
Huh?
Are you having a good time amidst all the chaos?
I mean, it's alright, but no, it's
I was not kind to Sam during this because I was only here maybe 3 shooting days. Just because I was like moving to college.
Because Reese's availability was so low, I had no choice but to do exactly what I did on our film, A Halloween to Forget. I had to put on the suit myself. Literally any scene in the movie in which you see Reese's character get hurt or injured or do any sort of stunt, that's me in the Bigfoot suit.
He made the shot list. He didn't schedule me to get hit.
In fact, the final scene that we shot with our actors is an example of this. For the scene in the tent where me, Zoe, and AJ's characters rewatched the trail cam footage of Jackson getting hit with a frying pan, we needed to shoot the actual trail cam footage that they were watching. But Reese wasn't there, so of course I donned the Bigfoot suit, we set up a GoPro on top of the trail cam, and we got going. Now I will be practicing getting the beaten out of me.
By me.
Yeah, me too. The frying pan scene was so fun. We were practicing, you know, doing all that. I genuinely punched Sam like right in the chest, and he was like winded. He was like, he couldn't breathe, like he was like, ugh! And it was really funny. And I wish we had that on recording. We do? We do?
Ah, I'm Bigfoot. Oh!
Did you punch him?
I told him, you don't have to hold back. You can take this rubber frying pan that we bought online and you can hit me as hard as you want with it. No need to mark it at all. And he took the advice to heart like a little too well.
It was fun because we just kept running around, screaming and hitting Sam. But
I forget how many takes we did, but let's just say that the frying pan was completely dented and misshapen by the end of the process.
I like to say it was my compensation for the movie, because I've got to beat the crap out of my director.
So with that, the entire movie, aside from, a few pickup shots here and there, had been shot, but I still had a ton of work ahead of me. If you've watched this channel for a little while, you know that I don't go into much depth when it comes to the editing process. There's a lot of minutia, right? It's not the most exciting thing to watch a YouTube video about, and there's plenty of YouTube videos out there to learn about editing if that's your goal, but I just don't really get too technical on this channel. It's more about the storytelling. That said, editing this film, oh my god, it took so long. If I were to do the math, I'd say that each minute of the film took at least 3 to 4 hours, and that's each minute. One time I spent an entire hour on a single 3-second shot. There are several occasions in this movie in which there are signs present in frame, and many of the times in this movie where you see a sign, it is not actually the sign that we film. When they first enter the campsite, Stewart Park, which I named after my grandfather who built the rain machine. Anyway, Stewart Park is not called Stewart Park. That's actually in Macon. It's like a sign like pointing to a pavilion or something. My strategy for going about this, and I am not a visual effects artist, but I can say that I have been lucky enough to be in the presence of a visual effects artist, Ellis Treese at Sosa Bear Films. And, you know, I watch Corridor Crew on YouTube, so, like, how hard can it be? Very hard is the answer. And these are not even, like, real visual effects. What I did is kind of like what you might describe as, like, redneck visual effects. So I basically took a frame from that shot, and I loaded it into Photoshop. And then, you know, I took the sign, and I changed it to say Stewart Park instead of whatever it was about the pavilion. Just like I was saying with editing, there's plenty of YouTube videos you can watch about Photoshop and how to use it and how you would do something like this. It's really not that hard. I've only had Photoshop for a couple months. So once I redesigned the sign, it was really just a matter of adding the new sign into the old shot, adding some Gaussian blur to the background to give it sort of that shallow depth of field, like the focus is just on the sign, that kind of look, and then adding a bit of a zoom out just to give some motion to the shot. That one is less to sell the effect of the sign and more to make the shot look cooler. I used the same process for a couple of the other signs in the movie. Not the Bigfoot crossing sign though. That one's real. Let's talk really quick about Reese's score. Reese's score is so good. Oh my god. My boy Reese Mosley has sent us the first demo of the score for the shit scene.
I used to be the janitor at the Taco Bell.
He's so talented. Like, he is just like, he creates these beautiful pieces, and you know, and it just fits so well.
Very talented. I really did enjoy the score. I saved it on my Spotify.
I like Reese a lot. He's a great guy, and he knows what the hell he's doing.
I didn't even know he was a music major.
I thought it was really good. I knew Reese was talented because he played some on the piano while we were at Zoe's house, and I was very amazed.
Okay, so we are here at the UGA campus. We're gonna meet up with Reese and Joshua, who is the cellist, who's gonna be helping us with the finale, which we are recording today in a studio space that they have here at the university. I've never had an original score for my movie before, let alone one that was recorded live.
We're recording, we're gonna use these stereo mics, and because this is plexiglass, if you need to talk, I'll show you the button here in a second. This is by far the greatest piece of technology that we have in this building. It's called a fishing line.
What is it for?
It is for...
Oh my god.
Jackson and Josh! This is Joshua. What's your last name?
Adderhold.
Like Adderhold Hall?
Yeah.
Did you build that hall?
I did.
Okay.
My own bare
This is
hands.
Josh Adderhold. He built Adderhold Hall at UGA. He is our cello. What do you want to say to all your new adoring fans?
A fun fact.
I play the cello.
There we go! Spoken like a true wisdom.
I feel so official. Oh my god.
Alright, so there's definitely 3 major themes that like appear more than once. Jackson and Josh, Josh and Iris, and Shit Dude. So those are the 3 major themes, and that's how I sort of composed the score. Is like I had those 3 major ideas and then built off of those for like the 3 impactful moments in the movie.
I know nothing about music. If you want a full breakdown of the score, Reese has already done one. It's on his channel. So Reese, if you're watching this, and I know you are, you did a fantastic job. Again, love you.
The album is on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and a bunch of like other things under my name, Reese Mosley. That's spelled R-E-E-C-E, and then M-O-S-E-L-E-Y.
Okay, so eventually, obviously, the film came together and it got finished. Kathy, Zoe's mom, called Jan Ewing, who's the theater teacher at our school. I don't do theater this year, but I did several years of theater with Jan Ewing. Great director. We called Mrs. Ewing and we asked her if we could use the theater space to premiere our short film. Okay. Tonight's the night. I'm in the dressing room at the theater where we are hosting the One Night in Squatchtown world premiere. So, listen, I've got this friend, Olivia. This that you're hearing right now is my vlog video, which we're gonna show before the film as sort of an opening act because we just won an award for this vlog video. So we want to show it before the film to give people a taste of what we do on the YouTube channel. And I invited my friend Chandler Thornton, who's another filmmaker. He goes to the University of North Georgia. Chandler is fantastic. He's one of the more talented filmmakers I know, and so I invited him, and we screened one of his movies as kind of a warm-up to our movie. So we watched our movie, my heart racing the entire time. We got some really good reactions, thankfully, but I remained completely nervous the entire time. And then we got up and did the Q&A, and I was talking too fast like I do because I was nervous, but it was okay. It went really well. There's a full video of that on the channel. It came out last week. You can watch that as well.
One Night in Squatchtown started, and the people, they laughed when they were supposed to laugh. They cried when they were supposed to cry. And I got a few questions about the score, which was nice. I had some people complimenting me afterward. Not everybody, but some people. I'm kidding.
I really enjoyed it. A great turnout. A lot more people than I thought. A lot of friends and family, and even my neighbors came. So I was very grateful for everybody that showed up and for the premiere. And it was a great night. I had a great time.
I just liked looking dapper.
But yeah, kind of with that, Squatchtown came to a close, except for doing this behind the scenes video. And that is a surreal feeling. For this movie to be over, that is weird. This movie, and I've said this before about countless movies, but this movie is a labor of love for many, many people, myself included, and also many other people who are more talented than me. It takes so many people to make something like this happen, and not just so many people, but so much passion. It's not a passive effort, you don't put minimal effort into a short film. Like, for something like this to happen, you have to have a lot of dedication from a lot of people, and I just feel so much gratitude towards those people for all of that dedication, for everything they did to make this movie happen. And of course, to all of you who supported the film, everybody who came to the premiere, everybody who watched the YouTube premiere, everybody who's watched the YouTube video since, everybody who's watched this video up to this point. I couldn't do it without any of you. I love YouTube, I love content creation, I love interacting with you guys, and I love all the support that you've poured out for Squatchtown. Like, it really is a big deal to me in a way that you probably can't see or even understand if you haven't done this before. Thank you to all of you. Fantastic jobs all around. Congratulations to everyone involved. This is your movie as much as it is mine, and I hope that you feel that ownership, and I hope that you feel proud of what we made as well.
Really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see where it goes, and I can't wait to star in another film with my colleague.
Yes, maybe the next one I get to murder John.
This was a really big moment in my life. Damn it.
Okay, everyone, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, I'm Sam Morgan, and this is Pictures Up.